In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to create your swing watch list, meaning your higher time frame watch list, so that you know what's actually happening for the week or the month ahead. Now, this is specifically mainly focused for swing traders and hybrid traders, meaning those who are going to be mainly focusing on the higher time frame trends. So you'll be looking at the monthly chart, the weekly chart, the daily chart, and so on, right? That is the main focus of a swing watch list creation. Because in general, full on, we're going to be looking at monthly, weekly, daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, 5 minute, if you're a day trader, specifically if you're a hybrid trader. But to make your swing watch list, you look at the monthly, the weekly, and the daily chart, period, okay? And the idea of a swing watch list is that you do it at the beginning of the week. So you do it on a Sunday, or you do it on a Monday, depending on where you are in the world. Pretty much you do it just before the new market opens. The market opens for the new week, right? So typically it's on a Sunday or a Monday morning kind of thing. So that's when you make your swing watch list. And the idea here is that you scan the higher time frames, meaning the monthly, the weekly, and the daily chart, and find these beautiful larger opportunities. So you know the strategies now. You know the ABO, advanced breakout, IBO, CBO, ACB, and at this point you also know the SBO, the swing breakout. But from a pattern point of view, we're mainly focusing on the ABO, IBO, CBO, and ACB. SBO is kind of like an entry, a way to enter into a position, right? But from a pattern, when you're thinking of a trend, the Elliott wave theory, wave 1 breakout, wave 2 pullback, wave 3 run, wave 4 pullback, wave 5 run kind of thing, we're planning the pullbacks and we're planning the runs, and then we're planning the pullback and we're planning the run. But within the Elliott wave theory are the strategies themselves. If a wave 5 finishes, what is that? That's an ABO breakout. What if we already have that breakout, wave 1 breakout on a daily chart? Then you're waiting for that pullback. Now that is an IBO, break of the daily 50, pullback to the daily 50. So if you're waiting for that pullback, day traders or hybrid trader, you might be taking that quick little day trades on that pullback before it rejects that daily 50 EMA. And once it presents an IBO on a higher time frame, meaning a break and retest of the daily 50 EMA, that's when you take that swing opportunity using your Fibonacci extension or targeting the weekly 50 EMA as an example, right? Pretty much applying the IBO to the higher time frame, or the CBO to the higher time frame, or the ABO to the higher time frame, and lastly the ACB to the higher time frame. The ACB typically catches wave 5 of a trend, right? So this is kind of what a higher time frame watch list looks like. You pretty much, in your mind, you should already know what the strategies look like. You should have a very clear understanding of what the strategies are, right? And obviously the more you look at the charts, the better your understanding of the strategies will be, and so on. But the idea here is that when you're scanning your higher time frame charts, right, monthly, weekly, daily, is that you're looking for patterns. Advanced breakout, IBO, CBO, ACB. And if something's not there, then it's a higher time frame discretionary. Simply a discretionary chart. You look at it and you say, you know what? It's discretionary, but it's with the trend. There is resistance, there's a trend line, there's a good candlestick formation. I think there's an opportunity there. It doesn't fit any of the strategies, but it's a decent chart. That's discretionary. I just want to point that out. That is discretionary, right? It doesn't fit the strategy, so it's discretionary. But you look at it, there's many confluence factors, there's resistance levels, it's with the trend, so you're trading with the momentum, then there might be an opportunity there. So that's kind of an idea. Now, when you make your weekly watch list or a swing watch list, I also call it a weekly watch list because you make it at the beginning of every single week, right? You can also do this at the beginning of every single month. At the beginning of every month kind of thing, here's a tip. At the beginning of every month, I jump on the charts, I look at my higher time frames, and I quickly scan through them and delete any of the analysis that I had that is not valid anymore. Because after a month, typically you will have a bunch of lines drawn in, horizontal, trend line, and so on the monthly, on the weekly, on the daily, and they may not be relevant anymore. So at the beginning of every single month, typically I jump on the charts and clean them up, right? And then I make like a longer term watch list. I look at the monthly chart, see what's going on there. Do I have any rejections, any reversals kind of thing? And then multi-time frame confirmation, weekly, daily, And again, I'm looking for the strategies, ABO, IBO, CBO, ACB on the higher time frames, period. So that's it for that introduction. I'm gonna jump on the charts, show you a few examples, scan through the charts a little bit, and speak a little bit more about that. But you already have a few tips in here. The main thing that I notice people really struggle with is, again, not understanding how to properly analyze the higher time frames. They're looking at every single horizontal level, every single trend line, random price action, and they're looking to trade off of those random levels. Well, if you want consistency, you need to do something that is consistently happening over and over and over again, and has consistently happened over decades. Guess what? ABO, IBO, CBO, ACB, those are all patterns, they're strategies that you can find them on the charts for decades, on the higher time frames, on the lower time frames. They're constantly reappearing because they're built on the trending market. So whenever you have a trend, chances are there's either an ABO, an IBO, a CBO, and an ACB, sometimes only one, sometimes two of those strategies, sometimes all of them will play out, right? But that's kind of what I like to focus on when I do my higher time frame watch list. And that's the one thing that I find people really struggle with, is because they don't focus on that. They focus on simply just looking at horizontal levels, some trend lines, some candlestick formation, simple. Higher time frame, discretionary, where there is no strategy, right? And that's where you can go wrong a few times, quite a bit of times actually, so that's a big tip. It's a big tip from me. Hope that makes sense. But let's jump on the charts so I can show you a little bit more about it. So starting off here, we have, again, monthly chart on the left, weekly chart on the right, and the daily chart on the bottom. Right now, like I said, we're mainly going to be focusing on the strategies applying themselves in the higher time frame. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for either an ABO, IBO, CBO, ACB, and so on the higher time frames. Now, we're not going to scan through all of this because that would take an hour at least if I actually go and explain every single pair. So we'll go and scan through the first few here so I can actually talk about it and walk you through it. So right here, right away, we have Aussie dollar. And one of the first things that we'll notice is, again, I like to look at all of the time frames. So, so I look at them one by one, monthly, weekly, daily, because I'm so used to the strategies already by myself. Like I already can look at a chart, it takes me about 5 seconds. I know whether there's a strategy there or not. For some of you, it will obviously take a little bit longer to develop that skill. The more chart exposure you have, the easier it will be to identify the strategies, whether it's on the higher time frame or the lower time frame. So that's just experience. In the meantime, it will take you a little bit longer, but eventually you will get there and it will be pretty quick. So looking at here at the monthly chart, trying to identify the pattern here, the trend, to see whether this is a monthly pullback, or could this be a larger breakout, or should I not even focus on this pullback because it still could continue going further down, kind of thing. So when you're looking at, we look at this setup quite a few times within the lessons, but when you're looking at it from an Elliott wave theory point of view, the trend, right? Because the Elliott wave theory just measures the trend. We have this wave one breakout and consolidated here a little bit. So wave one breakout, wave two pull, and a wave two pullback. So obviously we can draw our Fibonacci retracement and so on, and it lines up pretty well here actually. So breakout, pullback, and we have pretty much, I think, reached 1.272. Let's just fine tune it. Yeah, there it is. So pullback beautifully, and then it came to reach 1.272. So I'm just giving you an example. You already know that. So this is following the trend pretty well on the monthly chart. Now, obviously, we had this pullback here as well, right? So this was wave 3 run, wave 4 pullback, and now the monthly chart is in a wave 5 run. So knowing the Elliott wave theory, is the wave 5 run complete? A lot of times, majority of the times, it actually goes down to 0.618 Fibonacci extension, right? So obviously we're decelerating, we're slowing down on this monthly chart with kind of like a doji candle and a bullish engulfing, but we don't have much when it comes to horizontal support, right? There's really not much in this area except one rejection back in 1999, right? So there's a little bit. You could potentially play a slight little pullback. There's not much there, right? Now, Could this go farther down to 0.618? The answer is yes, but that could obviously take a year for price action to get there. It's a monthly chart, right? So that's something you gotta understand, that the reason why I'm trying to find what is the strength, where is the strength here on a monthly chart, is because I want to know, does this have any bullish momentum or is it still bearish? Right? In this case, I think, yeah, it might pull back for a month or two, presenting something on a daily chart or maybe on the weekly chart for a quick higher time frame pullback, right? But not for a big trend reversal, not for a big run, right? I think if it was actually sitting at 0.618, right, Fibonacci extension, it would be at this major support level. And at that point, I would say, okay, chances are wave 5 has now finished and there could be some big bullish opportunities coming up, right? But in the meantime, I'm more neutral on the monthly chart. I don't really have a strong bias on a monthly chart. I am neutral on a monthly time frame. I think there might be some bullish pressure coming in, but I don't think this trend is finished yet, right? I think it still could go a little bit further down. I might be wrong, but again, this is the patterns that keep on repeating themselves over and over and over and over again, whether it's the Elliott wave theory applying itself or the strategies themselves. So that's what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on consistency, not discretion. So then I move on to the weekly chart, right? So, okay, I see some bullish pressure on the monthly chart. Maybe this candlestick formation could give me something. But I look at the weekly time frame and I still don't have anything here. So obviously we decelerated a little bit. This has been trending down for quite some time, but look at this trend line. There's this really good trend line that price action is holding. So yeah, I mean, this could go up, but you got to be trading through the trend line, through the weekly 50 EMA. Imagine this was an IBO on a lower time frame. Would you take it? Does it fit the criteria of an IBO? Does this monthly, the weekly, the daily chart, does it fit a criteria of an IBO or an ABO or a CBO? Looking at the daily chart, it does not, right? Initially, however, there was a potential IBO setup here on a daily time frame, right? Back in where you can draw this in and you have this breakout and retest of the daily 50 EMA, so you have this pattern breakout, kind of like a triangle, right? Let's toss it in here. So you have this triangle breakout and retest of the daily 50 EMA. And at this point, this was an IBO. It wasn't rejecting anything major. I mean, there is some support there, as we've seen on a monthly chart, and we zoom out on a weekly, daily, there will be a little bit there. So there was a setup here. But at the same time, we had a bunch of resistance in the same area too. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 after this pullback. So think about it. If this was a lower time from day trade, would you take it? Maybe, maybe not, depending on your risk profile. So okay, if you would, you put this as, I'm watching for a higher time frame run here, but it's a pullback. So okay, a pullback, what's the best thing to target? If it's an IBO, think about it. If it's an IBO on a lower time frame, what's the best target placement? 4-hour 50 EMA on a lower time frame. So on a higher time frame, it would be the weekly 50. This is a break and retest of the daily 50 EMA. Weekly chart is the equivalent of the 4-hour, and the monthly chart is the equivalent of a daily. So the best target would be the weekly 50 EMA. But hey, you have this major trend line that has 1, 2, 3, 4 rejections, right? So what's the best target? Is it the trend line or is it the weekly 50 EMA? Well, this is a pullback on a monthly chart, first of all, right? So the best and easiest target to hit would be the trend line. Okay, so that's what you target. But then you have to be okay with trending through this horizontal support and resistance. This is how I scan the higher time frames. Again, I look for the patterns. I look for an ABO, an IBO, a CBO, and so on, right? Now, looking at current price action right now, well, obviously this resistance here is present again. So I'm not really looking for anything here. This to me is now a higher time frame discretionary. There is no IBO. It used to be. It wasn't the best. There's definitely no IBO now. There's no ABO. There's no CBO. But what if it breaks out? Can I plan for something here? What if it breaks out on a weekly chart and then comes back to retest the weekly 50 EMA? Well, at that point, maybe there could be a quick position as a CBO, a breakout and a retest of the weekly 50 EMA could present a quick pullback opportunity, which from a swing trade, I mean, that could still you're mainly looking to make about 2.53% on a swing position. You're looking to target the run, right? So you're targeting the run on a daily chart. You're applying the strategy. It's a CBO, right, on a higher time frame. So you're playing the run automatically because it's a CBO, right? CBO is targeting the trend. IBO is with the trend. ABO is with the trend. So if you have an ABO, an IBO, a CBO, or an ACB on a higher time frame, automatically you're trading with the trend, right? It might be a pullback on a monthly chart, but it's the trend on a daily, period, right? So you just got to treat it that way. So in this case, you'll be targeting previous highs and so on. So that's what I can plan for. So at this point, to me, there's nothing on this chart, right? Until it potentially breaks out. And when it potentially breaks out, then at that point, hey, you know what, there might be something here. Now it's important to also draw in this trend line, which is the same as on the weekly. And the best opportunity would obviously come on the breakout and maybe a retest of this level. So that's what I would look for. At this point, nothing there. I am neutral, right? Not worth any risk. Higher time frames are more discretionary than anything at this point in time, unless they break out farther to the upside. So I move on. Now, obviously, in my mind, I saw this within 5 seconds. Right here, I'm trying to explain it step by step, so it took me a few minutes, you know? But this is something that you would literally do within maybe 20, 30 seconds max if you're really good at analysis, right? It shouldn't take you forever. So I move on to the next pair, ASICAD as an example. And what do I have here? Same kind of idea, you know? So I look at the monthly chart real quick. I have some decent candlestick formation. I have a little bit of support. I mean, I don't have anything crazy, but I do have some support. Previous lows, and current lows. So we have at least 3 rejections. There's a couple other ones that are a little bit more minor. And we obviously have deceleration and bullish engulfing. So yeah, I could definitely say a pullback. It's a pullback play on a monthly chart. It could maybe go up to this level here, 93, previous lows. Okay, so there might be something there. Weekly chart is decelerating. So it's slowing down, it's decelerating. I mean, there's again that support level there, just like on the weekly or the monthly. And same thing here on a daily, same level will be there. So let's draw it in. But let's have a quick look at the daily. Before we look at the weekly chart, we're looking for a pattern. So this is kind of like an IBO, you know, so you can draw in your trend line, draw it in, and here you go. You have a breakout. So we had this pattern here, kind of like a descending triangle, or you could even see it as a head and shoulder, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, breakout, higher high, previous high, higher high, and then it pulled back right here. So what is this? This is an IBO on a higher time frame. So you look for the weekly chart as an IBO A, IBO B, IBO C, right? So we can draw in a little phase line. I mean, this is more of like an IBO B on a weekly chart, just because it didn't make like a clear higher high, right? So it's kind of like an IBOB. Check it out, it came back, retested the trend line, you know, so it's a valid setup. And then the daily chart exploded with a big bullish engulfing. Since then, obviously, it consolidated a little bit, you know, but from a swing higher time from possible opportunity, there's still a higher time from setup here. So how do we plan it? I mean, you can draw in your Fibonacci, obviously. You can either do it like this, you can do it all the way from the extreme lows if you wish. Right? A lot of times I like to do it from extreme lows, just measure the entire kind of breakout move. But it really depends again on preference. And then Fibonacci extension, retracement, right? And then we know first potential target is 0.618. Obviously this is a pullback on a higher time frame. So what's a good target? Weekly 50, right? Which will be somewhere here. That could be a decent target. Just like an IBO on a lower time frame, what would you pull? Target 4-hour 50, right? If it was a kind of a pullback move. So here we're playing with the trend on a daily chart. So good target would be the weekly 50 EMA. But now, obviously, the move is already kind of made. It was here initially a few weeks ago on this break and retest. At this point, obviously, the trade is already missed, right? It's looking kind of weird. It's messy on a daily chart. But initially, it looked pretty clean here a few weeks ago as we get this bullish engulfing. So that could have been a swing opportunity, right? Executing with an SBO, or if there was a setup on a lower time frame, obviously an IBO, CBO, ACBO on a lower time frame, you're still playing a swing trade. It's still a longer term swing opportunity. And again, you'll be targeting the weekly 50. Maybe if you wanted to push it, again, it will be 93, which will be just below 1.272 Fibonacci extension, which is the best target for a wave 3 run. And you'll see it will be just below or just on this monthly daily support level. Negative is obviously breaking the weekly 50. So you use your discretion. What's my favorite target? Well, the safest target, weekly 50 EMA. If I want to push it farther, it will be 0.93. 1.272 Fibonacci extension and 0.93 support level on a monthly. Perfect, move on. So obviously that's kind of how I analyze the higher time frames. Over here, what do we got? So Aussie Swiss, nothing really on a monthly. Monthly could potentially have some bullish opportunities, maybe, right? But at this point it's slowing down, it's decelerating, but we don't have support. It's really hard to judge. We need multi-time frame confirmation. When it comes to the strategies, at this point, nothing really applies, right? Nothing really. If we rejected the weekly 50 EMA, there could have been we have some support and resistance in this zone, roughly. This horizontal area is pretty good. A few rejections in the recent times, right? So if price pulled back to actually reject the weekly 50 EMA, this would have been a pretty clean ACB, an advanced continuation breakout on a higher time frame. The negative here is obviously it didn't reach the weekly 50 EMA. That's negative. There was this rising wedge pattern on a daily chart, but it didn't reach the weekly 50 EMA. So when it comes to the strategies, to the patterns, to the ACB strategy, it's here. Is it perfect? No. What would make it perfect? A rejection of the weekly 50 EMA. So the ACB pattern is here, a little bit more discretionary if you want to execute it to the downside. You could potentially play it all the way down there, because that would be kind of like finishing the trend on a daily chart. But the negative is, again, it didn't reach that weekly 50 EMA. So could it? The question is, could it still get there? And obviously it could. The pattern is developing. It could, who knows what it would look like. It could potentially look a little bit different, right? Eventually might reach that weekly 50 EMA. But that's kind of how, again, I analyze charts, is I look for things that keep on repeating over and over and over again. And to me, at this point in time, there could have been something, from a more of a discretionary point of view, right? We did have this pattern breakout, and sure, it did break a phase line on a weekly chart, which is this daily trend line. Negative is it didn't fully reject resistance on a weekly time frame, right? Even on a daily chart, we have kind of like this area here that wasn't really clearly rejected. It's more of a zone. You can try it in like this as well. So that would have been nice if it was rejected, but it wasn't. Obviously, that lined up with the weekly 50 EMA. That would have been a great ACB opportunity potentially, right? If the pattern was clean. But in this case, it didn't. So maybe because it broke down, you could take kind of like a discretionary ACB to the downside, but it's more discretionary, right? So I move on because it's not as clean. This will make my secondary list at best. I look at ASEAN, and here I see I have horizontal support and resistance drawn in. So I look at the monthly chart, and obviously we broke that and we came back to retest these previous lows, these previous open and close prices. Okay, so there might be something there. Weekly chart is kind of the same idea as the previous one. You look at the weekly chart, and again, a proper ACB will be rejecting that weekly 50 EMA. But in this case, we have horizontal support and resistance in that region. We have 0.382 Fibonacci in that area as well. So the question is, do we have a pattern on this daily chart? So we're looking for rising wedges and so on, and you can see this pattern is not fully developed yet. It's not fully broken. It's not, we could come back, form a double top, reject it properly, and then break down. But at this point, there's really not much there. So maybe once we again go up to reject it one more time, so I could draw in an arrow, I can plan it. Okay, I'm watching for something like this, maybe. Let's see if it happens. Let's see if it goes up, forms a double top, and then breaks down. Alternatively, obviously, you can potentially wait for something else, but this is really the only strategy that could develop itself here. It is an ACB short, maybe, once it rejects that weekly 50 EMA. Anything else that you're looking to take is kind of discretionary, in my opinion. So you could obviously take a day trade long here if you wanted to. It's kind of discretionary. It doesn't really fit any of the patterns, right? But there might be a discretionary play. I want consistency, so I'll look for strategies. And move on, Aussie Kiwi. Anything here? So we look at the monthly chart, and obviously the monthly chart was kind of within a triangle pattern. If we draw it in here, right, it was kind of with this symmetrical triangle pattern, came back and rejected. It's been holding this monthly 50 EMA really well. Now it's accelerating to the downside. Obviously there's some support here as well in this region which we're approaching. So on the weekly chart, I mean, we're accelerating pretty heavily. The daily chart, we're accelerating pretty heavily. It could be kind of like a CBO. It's not the most perfect, but it could line up for a CBO. So maybe this, if it pulls back, question is if it pulls back, could maybe see a continuation to the downside. Because look at this, if it pulls back to reject 0.382, the daily 50 EMA, would also line up with the weekly 50 EMA at that point as well. And obviously there's a lot of strong bearish momentum on that monthly chart. So that's also what we will be getting here, is we will be trading potentially with that monthly momentum. Unless this obviously continues all the way to the lows, rejects the lows, and at that point that would look kind of weird. So that's when, again, as a hybrid trader, because as a swing trader, you're mainly looking for the strategies and then you're targeting the trend. You want to target the run. But as a hybrid trader, you're also doing that, but you're also day trading at the same time. So what are the best day trades? The best day trades are pullbacks, so from a pullback point of view, I mean, if this starts to pull back, who knows? You might catch a quick 1-to-1 up to the 4-hour 50 as a day trade, and quick IBO, maybe a quick CBO for 1, 2, maybe 3%. Sometimes if you catch an IBO on a pullback, you can catch that for sometimes 2% up to the 4-hour 50. Sometimes it's only 1, sometimes 1.5, sometimes 2, right? So sometimes you could catch 2% on a pullback with an IBO on a lower time frame, targeting the 4-hour 50. And if it breaks that 4-hour 50, guess what? It's coming back for a CBO. So at that point, maybe you can catch another CBO before it pulls back, where you get the swing trade as a swing trader and a hybrid trader, where you actually target that run for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% profit, right? So the idea here is, again, we're looking for these larger trends. And because they're higher time frames, they develop a little bit longer. And if the beauty of that is if you're prepared, you already know what's happening weeks ahead of time, right? Here is dollar CAD. I look at this daily chart, very choppy, very messy. Lots of consolidation. It's kind of like a range. So nothing really here that interests me. It's very discretionary if I'm looking to take anything. Obviously, it doesn't fit any of the strategies. No ABO, no IBO, no CBO, none of that, right? So it's more of a ranging market. So maybe if it properly rejects the highs, there might be a short opportunity, but that's discretionary, right? And be more of a day trade opportunity, but not a swing trade. It'll be more of a quick day trading opportunity, which, don't confuse me, this is a swing watches. Swing watches means I'm looking for higher time frame opportunities that are more long-term. There are swing trades, there are big opportunities. So I'm looking for ABOs, IBOs, CBOs. If it rejects a good horizontal level, but there is no strategy, there might be a day trade there. So that's when, as a day trader or a hybrid trader, you look at the lower time frames and you're like, okay, daily chart's got major resistance. It's in a range, so this is not a long-term opportunity because I don't know what to target. It could go down to the bottom of the range, but who knows really, right? So the safest thing as a day trader at that point be, because this is not trending, it's ranging. So because it's ranging, the safest thing as a day trader would be, okay, it's a good rejection. I have deceleration, I have a candlestick formation. So I might take a quick opportunity, quick IBO, quick CBO on the lower time frames, which there's nothing here, right? But on the lower time frames for a quick 1-to-1 or a quick 2-to-1 kind of thing. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, is as a swing trader, you're looking for really good, clean opportunities. Check out this example here. So this is a trade that already played out. And let me break it down in kind of full, simple, clean analysis here for you. right? So the way I do my watches is obviously I go pair by pair, and that's what I look for. I look for clean patterns, right? Now here I look at the monthly chart, and obviously a few months ago we had this beautiful bullish engulfing. That was a few months ago, so a few months ago we had this beautiful bullish engulfing. Previous high, previous low, current low, bullish engulfing, good support, right? Then I look at the weekly chart, and the weekly chart around that time was decelerating at that same support, previous lows, and that's the same support as on a monthly. We had this deceleration here. So then the daily chart was giving me this triangle pattern, again bouncing off of the same support level, same area on a daily chart as on the monthly and the weekly. So we broke out of that. So this was kind of like an ABO, right? We have a tweezer bottom on a weekly chart, and we have this bullish engulfing on a daily chart. It's kind of like an ABO. It's not the cleanest, but it's an ABO. It's a breakout, right? So what do you target? ABO on a higher time frame, right? This is not the cleanest ABO, but I'm just using it as a reference. An ABO on a higher time frame, you're targeting the weekly 50, right? It's a pullback on a monthly, so again, you're targeting the weekly 50. Just as if it was a pullback on a daily and you're looking for an ABO on a lower time frame, what are you targeting? 4-hour 50, right? It's the same thing. It's just higher time frames. Now it eventually broke out and presented an IBO, a breakout and a retest. This was an IBO, right? So then it started to accelerate to the upside over here, so this was again an IBO, higher time frame swing opportunity. So I can plan that, when it was developing, I can plan it out. So it was rejecting 0.5 Fibonacci. I can draw in my Elliott wave theory, my patterns, my Elliott wave patterns. And wrong tool. Here we go. Right? And an IBO is a wave 3 run. So when you think about that, an IBO is a wave 3 run. So this was an IBO on a higher time frame, right? It broke the daily 50 EMA a little bit, but it's still an IBO on a higher time frame with a weekly tweezer bottom and a strong bullish engulfing, right here. That's where it occurred. A full-on daily breakout, a beautiful bullish engulfing rejecting major support on a higher time frame. Perfect, so this is an IBO on a higher time frame. I was looking for a long opportunity right here, targeting what? It's a pullback on a monthly, so I'm targeting the weekly 50 EMA. Just as if it was a pullback on a daily, I'm targeting the daily or the 4-hour 50 EMA. Same thing. So either 1.272 Fibonacci extension, which is the best target for a wave 3 run. A lot of times it lines up with the weekly 50 EMA. So that's what it is. This is the higher time frame watch list. So again, when I do it, it typically takes me, if I'm just focusing on Forex and I want to take my time, anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. If I'm taking my time, it'll be an hour. At the beginning of the month, I would like to do things a little bit slower, clean up my charts, and then slowly go pair by pair, do my fresh analysis, look for the patterns, and so on. That's kind of it. And again, one thing that I wanted to say is you would obviously go through this entire list. If you're trading Forex, if you're trading equities, you would do the same thing for your equities watch list. If you're trading cryptocurrency, you would do the same thing for your cryptocurrency. If you're trading all 3 markets as a swing trader, you're doing this times 3 for Forex, equities, and crypto on a Sunday, right? If you're trading just one market, you're just doing it for Forex or equities or crypto, depending on the market that you're trading. So that is it. That is how you make your swing watches. Again, I really talked about applying the strategies to the higher time frame. So looking for ABOs, IBOs, CBOs, ACBs on a monthly, weekly, daily charts, right? That's a swing watch list. The reason why we do a swing watch list as a swing trader is to find those long-term opportunities, period, right? As a swing trader, you want to be applying the strategies to the higher time frame to find the daily runs. You're trading the daily trend. So it doesn't matter whether you are applying the ABO or an IBO or a CBO or an ACB on a higher time frame. If it's the monthly, weekly, daily, you're trading the daily trend and the monthly run, right? So you're looking for a monthly rejection, some kind of monthly rejection, daily trend change, right? That is the IBO or ABO or CBO and so on. Now, obviously, that applies to swing traders and hybrid traders, because hybrid traders, you're also looking for those beautiful long-term opportunities, but as a hybrid trader, you're also taking the quick little pullbacks. So think about it. An IBO, does it have a pullback there? Yeah, it's the wave 2 pullback. What about a CBO? Same thing. CBO also has a pullback before you trading with the trend. What about an ACB? ACB also has a pullback when you're trading with the trend. So as a hybrid trader, meaning that you're a day trader, but you're also looking for those long-term opportunities, swing trades. You're doing both, right? As a hybrid trader, one of the good thing is getting with the flow of the market. So if you're looking for IBOs, CBOs, ACBs on a higher time frame, if you want to really simplify things, you're looking for those clean patterns. And then when those patterns present themselves, as you're waiting, as an example, for that IBO pullback on a daily chart, you might take a quick IBO on a lower time frame for a day trade, or a quick CBO on a lower time frame on that wave 2 pullback. As the daily chart pulls back, as a day trader or a hybrid trader, you execute those pullbacks. Quick in and out, in and out, in and out. And then as the daily pullback finishes, the wave 2 pullback finishes, and now you want to take that IBO, or you take the IBO, applying long-term management or short-term management, taking it as a swing trade, right? That's kind of how the purpose of doing higher time frame watch lists. As a day trader, it's a little bit different. You're mainly focusing on the lower time frames. Daily chart, 4-hour chart, 1-hour chart. That's your main focus. And then you're using the 5-minute chart to enter. Just like right here, as a swing trader, if you're applying the SBO, you're looking at the monthly chart, weekly chart, daily chart, break of the 1-hour time frame, 1 hour 50 MA with an SBO entry as an example. Or you can also take it as an IBO or a CBO on a lower time frame, right? I hope that's not confusing. I want to simplify it as much as possible. I want to eliminate those discretionary setups that I think a lot of people are getting wrong, because they just find a good or a decent support level on a higher time frame, and right away they want to take it, they want to trade it, but it might not be the best opportunity, right? It might not be the best opportunity. So if there's something there, if there's a good horizontal level on a daily chart, but it doesn't fit the patterns, there's nothing on a weekly, there's nothing on a monthly, guess what? That's a good day trade, period, you know? So, okay, you got good support on a higher time frame, good candlestick formation on a higher time frame. It doesn't fit any of the strategies. Maybe it's a pullback on a daily chart. Okay, you know, take it as a quick day trade. Drop down to the lower time frames. Is there a strategy there on a lower time frame? Daily, 4-hour, 1 hour. Is there an IBO, a CBO, an ABO? And then just take it as that day trade. So that's what we're looking at next. We're looking at how to make your day trading watch list. This is how to make your swing trading watch list. And I really want to emphasize the thing that you should be, the main point that you should be really focusing on those strategies, applying the strategies to the higher time frames to really simplify your trading, right? To avoid that discretion, which is the discretion that actually makes people wrong a lot of the times, right? Because again, it's not consistent. What's consistent are the patterns, period. Hope that all makes sense. Hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.